It is commonly believed that tourism became an integral part of human life, only with the development of scientific and technological progress. Today, we can simply buy a plane or train ticket, pack a backpack with the most essential items, and set off to conquer the world. But not so long ago, a couple of centuries back, travel was not so easy. The tourism boom is attributed to the 19th century when new horizons and opportunities opened up for humanity. It was the century of travelers, explorers, and pioneers. Almost every aristocratic family of that time could afford to get away for a couple of weeks to a neighboring country, taking a decent number of bags with them. Enormous amounts of luggage followed those wishing to see the world. Wealthy people hired special workers who packed all the necessary travel items into trunks, and separately hired staff who arranged and organized this luggage so it wouldn't get damaged and, most importantly, wouldn't get wet. Doesn't it sound strange to hear about this now? But one day, everything changed. In 1858, Paris saw the presentation of the first flat trunk of its kind, named the Trianon, and it was invented by the man whose name is now on everyone's lips. That is how the world heard the name Louis Vuitton for the first time. The first Louis Vuitton workshop was opened in Paris in 1854. It was destined to become a symbol of the highest quality and luxury. But let's take things in order. The founder of the French fashion house, Louis Vuitton, was born on August 4, 1821, in the small town of Anchay in southern France. From early childhood, a difficult path was predicted for him. Every day, the boy helped his father, working on the farm from early morning until late evening. There wasn't enough money for a normal life. He ate once a day, and all his clothes had been darned and resewn multiple times. Sometimes he even had to sleep right at his workplace. At the age of 10, fate gave him not the best surprise. His mother died from an unknown illness. A little later, his father died, and life turned out to be not a sweet fairy tale at all. At just 13 years old, in search of a better life, Vuitton left his home and, alone, set off for Paris on foot. He had to walk a full 470 kilometers into the unknown to get from his native settlement to Paris, the city where all dreams were said to come true. This small journey took the boy several years. Along the way, he stopped in small towns where he found odd jobs and food. He shined shoes, helped unload goods, worked in the fields, and simply sold flowers. Kind people helped him with shelter, fed him, and shared their life stories. And only at the age of 16 did Louis Vuitton finally reach Paris. The first couple of weeks in the fashion capital were a real ordeal for the young man. He wandered the streets looking for work, slept wherever he could. Life was harsh to him until one day he saw a beautiful box with neatly packed items inside in a workshop window. Its shape, color, and curves captivated Louis so much that he even dared to go inside to see all its beauty, not through the window glass. The workshop was full of visitors. Louis immediately noticed that the workers couldn't handle the workload due to the large influx of people. So, gathering his courage, he approached the workshop manager and offered his help. His perseverance and determination, and most importantly, his desire to work, left no one indifferent. And the very next day the young man became a full-fledged employee of Monsieur Marchal's workshop, one of the successful manufacturers of boxes, trunks, and packaging. It is worth noting that in 19th century Europe, making boxes and packing luggage was a very respectable and popular craft. It was thanks to his perseverance that within a few years, Louis earned a reputation among wealthy Parisians as one of the best craftsmen in this field. At the age of 33, Vuitton, already a desirable bachelor with a good income and status, married 17-year-old Clémence Emily Pariot. Together, a year later, they opened their own workshop in one of the industrial suburbs of Paris. And in 1854, Louis opened his own workshop on Rue des Capucines, near the Place Vendôme. The sign at the main entrance read, "Securely packs the most fragile objects, specializes in packing fashion goods." Most of his work initially consisted of custom orders. For example, in 1856, one of the workshop's orders was to make trunks for transporting ponies for one of the famous French circuses, but all this didn't quite satisfy the man. Not that the business wasn't thriving, there was plenty of money and orders, but he was just one of hundreds of masters like himself. Louis was so good at his craft that he decided to do something that would make him famous and well-known. He thought long and hard, looking for options. What else could be invented? After all, at first glance, it seemed everything had already been invented before him. But still, a brilliant idea came to his mind, and later this idea became a reality. It was in 1858 that Vuitton introduced his revolutionary waterproof rectangular trunks, with a flat lid, using canvas and leather for the covering. They became so successful that they defined the shape of travel bags for the next 70 years. The Trianon was the world's first trunk with a flat lid that opened from the side. Before this, they only had a convex shape and opened from the top so that water wouldn't accumulate on the surface during rain. The Trianon, however, was covered in waterproof fabric, and the flat shape made it much more compact, allowing trunks to be stacked on top of each other. The success of the new model was also due to people starting to travel actively by rail. The convenience of the new accessory attracted the most affluent public. It was an incredible success. Orders poured in by the hundreds. This miracle trunk became known far beyond the borders of France. But, as often happens, after a winning streak comes a losing one. Even then, Louis Vuitton faced a massive problem. His trunks began to be widely counterfeited, but the man decided that since he was the first to invent it, his trunks should be different from all the others. And that is why, to give his products individuality, it was decided to develop an original color scheme that would stand out against the background of the dull and familiar shades of other trunks and bags. To distinguish themselves from competitors, a brown and beige stripe appeared first, followed by a checkered pattern which, even now, many years later, is associated only with this brand. From the very first days, the store's clients were wealthy people who knew a lot about quality and beauty. One of them was the wife of Napoleon Eugenie. Thanks to her, Louis Vuitton's store attracted the attention of a large number of the country's rich people, thereby ensuring the success of his further career. From that moment on, things rapidly went uphill. In 1867, Louis received a bronze medal at the International Exhibition in Paris for his contribution to society. After all, the whole world was now traveling with Louis's trunks. But everything wasn't as fairytale and good as it seemed. In 1871, as a result of the Franco-Prussian War, the workshop was destroyed, and most of the equipment and tools were simply stolen. This was a difficult time for our hero, who had given all his strength to developing this direction. However, he quickly took matters into his own hands and, in a short period, managed to restore production. Demand for his products was so high that in 1885, Vuitton opened his first store outside France. Stores in London were particularly popular. After opening a boutique on the shores of foggy Albion in 1885, the inscription Mark L. Vuitton depots began to appear on every product, guaranteeing 100% authenticity of the item. Louis was prudent at that time. It was difficult to counterfeit. From 1857 to 1936, the fashion house was run by Vuitton and his son, Georges, and in 1886, they jointly patented a spring lock, the design of which is still used today. All lock models were kept in the workshops in case an owner needed another key. All his time, until his death, Louis devoted to his beloved work. He invented and developed convenient handles for carrying trunks, locks, and tried to change the corner pieces on the trunks, giving them a more elegant design. He had about 100 discoveries and innovations to his name, many of which we use today without even realizing that they were invented 100 years ago by the son of a poor farmer. The great master, and he rightfully deserves that title, died at the age of 70, after which the entire business passed into the hands of his son, Georges Vuitton. It was under him that the legendary monogram with flowers, diamonds, and the letters L.V. in memory of his father appeared. The first trunk with this unusual design appeared as early as 1897 and is still used today. The son of the legendary founder set a global goal for himself. He decided that he simply had to do everything to bring the brand to the international level, and he succeeded. Thanks to Georges, new stores opened in New York and Buenos Aires. It was he who opened the largest and most famous store in Paris, located on the Champs-Élysées. In 1901, the steamer bag was released, becoming the prototype of modern backpacks. In 1925, at the request of Coco Chanel, the No bag was created. But the most in-demand women's handbag, the Kipal, appeared in 1930, which, by the way, was originally conceived as a bag for transporting dirty laundry. This model remains one of the most popular even today. After Georges, the company's management passed to his son, Gaston Louis Vuitton, the grandson of Louis Vuitton. He, in turn, transformed the brand and made adjustments to its design. Under him, the legendary print became smaller and could be placed on all products. During World War I, the Louis Vuitton brand had ties with the fascists. The company prefers not to recall this historical period, but some facts from that time are available in the public domain. It is known that the entrance to the branded boutique in Paris had a sign with a fascist-oriented text, "No entry for Jews." But even after all these events, decades later, the brand still remained a sign of status, good taste, and impeccable quality. Louis's descendants were not inferior to him in enterprise and opened brand boutiques all over the world. The 1970s were a period of relaunch and rapid development for Louis Vuitton. The company grew. If in the early 70s it had two exclusive stores and an income of 11 million euros, then by 1989 it had 125 stores generating 600 million euros. In 1987, the Louis Vuitton company merged with another luxury and major brand, Mott Hennessy, forming a holding company called LVMH. Today, it owns more than 70 brands, such as Christian Dior, Hennessy, Givenchy, and so on. Louis Vuitton bags and suitcases are popular among many world-famous stars and celebrities, such as Princess Diana, Audrey Hepburn, Angelina Jolie, and Kim Kardashian. Surprisingly, the technology for making suitcases hasn't changed since the days of the first workshop. The suitcase body is still made of poplar wood. The corner protection elements and those very reliable locks have been preserved. It is also worth noting that the company provides a lifetime guarantee on all its products. And if there are signs of wear, scratches, or accidental damage, they are restored by special repair services. So, essentially, you are buying a suitcase for life. In 1989, control of the company was acquired by one of its main shareholders, French billionaire Bernard Arnault. And in 1997, Marc Jacobs became the brand's creative director. Thanks to him, the company reached a new level. For the first time, he dressed models in rough men's boots and light silk dresses. Under his leadership, the brand began producing collections of men's and women's clothing and shoes, exclusive accessories, and jewelry. Every new show is a spectacle where models ride carousels, exit elevators, and descend escalators. Marc Jacobs worked for the company for a full 16 years. In November 2013, the young designer Nicolas Guesquire, who had previously worked for Jean-Paul Gaultier and the fashion house Balenciaga, took over all women's ready-to-wear lines. His first show for Louis Vuitton was hailed by the press as a triumph. His new take on aesthetics, inspired by the 60s and 70s, radically changed the company's concept. Today, this luxury fashion house has its signature stores in 53 countries worldwide. It is known that, following company tradition, all unsold bags are returned to Paris, where they are burned. This is done to avoid counterfeiting and to remain the only brand in the world responsible for its quality and originality. In 2016, a collection of fragrances for women, composed by Jacques Cavalier, went on sale in many Louis Vuitton boutiques. And in 2018, a men's eau de toilette was released. Starting in the summer of 2019, the company began producing unisex perfumes, which immediately won the hearts of all brand lovers. Louis Vuitton bags are considered the most expensive in the world. Their price ranges from $5,000 to $55,000. There are also Louis Vuitton condoms, costing $65 a piece. Louis Vuitton bags, clothing, and accessories are never sold wholesale or at a discount and represent a perfect blend of classic and contemporary. Louis Vuitton was the first brand to use celebrities, singers, and actors as models in its advertising. Mikhail Gorbachev even appeared in one of the ad campaigns. The fortune of Louis Vuitton's owner, Bernard Arnault, was estimated at $100 billion in 2017. He is in the top 10 of the world's richest people rankings. The most famous scandal, which led to a lawsuit, was against Britney Spears, Sony BMG, and MTV Online. The singer was found guilty of violating the law on trademark falsification. In the music video for Do Something, which featured a dashboard upholstered in pink material with Louis Vuitton symbolism, lawyers for Sony BMG and MTV Online had to pay the brand $80,000 each for broadcasting this video. Another interesting fact: in 2014, a special custom order was made for the prima ballerina of the Mariinsky Theater, Diana Vishneva. The suitcase held 6 tutus and 18 pairs of pointe shoes, as well as the ballerina's accessories. And in 2019, the brand's best craftsman made a chest for transporting the FIFA World Cup trophy. The 6-kilogram gold trophy, adorned with malachite, travels the world in a safe box with the logo of this very brand. It is worth noting that the French fashion house can be easily recognized. not only by its unique monogram print but also by its amazing product quality. The boutiques opened in many countries bring the brand substantial annual profits, and the status of one of the best and most successful in the world. And, by the way, travel bags and suitcases are still hugely successful and sell out instantly, and the motto "every suitcase must combine high mobility and lightness" remains relevant to this day. Friends, have you ever owned anything from this brand? Be sure to write in the comments. Well, that's all for now. Rate the video, give it a like.